The night was quiet except for the hum of wind brushing against the metal beams of the old sky bridge. Neon lights flickered weakly below, fading through mist that covered the lower levels of Colony Theta. Above that fog stood a lonely figure, a woman with pale silver skin, her long dark hair tangled by the storm. Her name was Lyra. She stood on the edge of the bridge, toes almost touching the drop. The city lights below looked like 1,000 tiny stars waiting to swallow her whole. Her hands trembled as she stared down. She had no reason left to stay. In her world, an alien woman without the ability to bear children was called empty, worthless, unwanted. For weeks, voices inside her mind whispered that she didn't belong anywhere. Tonight, she had decided to listen. Lightning flashed across the red clouds above. A single tear slid down her cheek. She whispered to herself, "Maybe peace waits below." But just as her body leaned forward, a shout broke through the storm. "Don't jump!" A strong hand caught her arm. She gasped, twisting around. The grip was human, warm and rough, not like the cold hands of her kind. Standing behind her was a man in a weather-worn coat, rain dripping from his hair. His face was tired, eyes carrying the weight of loss. "Please," he said softly, his voice shaking. "Don't do this." Lyra tried to pull away, but his hold was steady. "Let me go," she whispered. "You don't understand. There is nothing left for me." The man shook his head. "That's not true. There's always something left." She looked into his eyes, deep brown, full of pain but also of life. She saw that he too had known sorrow. "Why do you care?" she asked. "I am not even of your kind," he hesitated. "Because I've already lost one life tonight. I'm not losing another." For a long moment, neither moved. The wind howled through the steel beams, pushing against them as if trying to tear them apart. Finally, he guided her back from the edge. Her knees gave out, and she fell to the wet floor, crying softly. The man knelt beside her, breathing hard. "My name's Ethan," he said quietly. "Ethan Cole." Lyra wiped her tears. "Why were you here?" "I was looking for my daughter," he answered. His eyes drifted toward the darkness below. "She's 16. She disappeared this morning. Someone said they saw her near the alien market." Lyra's chest tightened. She knew that place, though the alien market was no place for a human child. "If she went there, she's in danger," she said. Ethan nodded slowly. "I know. That's why I came here. The bridge leads straight into the outer sector. I thought maybe..." His voice faded. They sat together in silence for a while. The rain softened. The sky above began to clear, revealing the twin moons of Theta rising behind the clouds. Ethan handed her his old jacket. "You're freezing," he said. Lyra stared at it. "Why are you helping me?" He smiled sadly. "Because once someone helped me when I didn't deserve it." The warmth of his kindness confused her. No human had ever spoken to her with such softness. She was used to insults, fear, and rejection. But this man looked at her not as a monster, but as a person. She whispered, "I was cast out by my people. They said I'm broken. My womb doesn't make life. They said the gods turned their faces from me." Ethan looked down at his hands. "Then we're both broken," he said. "My daughter, I haven't been a good father. Maybe that's why she ran away." The bridge lights flickered again, glowing around them. Something strange passed between them, a quiet understanding. "You should go home," Lyra said softly. "Humans should not linger here. It's dangerous after dark." Ethan stood. "And what about you?" She turned her face away. "I was going to leave this world tonight." He looked out over the edge where she had stood. The drop was endless. Then he looked back at her and said, "Then maybe this world still needs you. Maybe I need you to help me find her." Lyra blinked. "Me?" "Yes," Ethan said. "You know this place better than anyone. You know the alien side." "I can't do it alone." Lyra hesitated. She had planned to end everything. Yet here was a human, a stranger, asking for her help, as if her life still mattered. "I don't even know where to start," she said. Ethan held out his hand. "Then we'll start together." Slowly, she took his hand. His grip was firm, grounding her in the cold rain. For the first time in years, she felt something spark inside. Not hope exactly, but something close. A faint siren wailed in the distance. Patrol drones moved above the bridge, scanning the area. Ethan glanced up. "We should move," he said. "They'll question anyone found here." Lyra nodded and followed him toward the end of the bridge. As they walked, she glanced back one last time at the place where she had almost jumped. The storm was fading, and moonlight touched the steel rails like silver veins. She whispered, "Thank you." Ethan didn't answer. He just walked ahead, his shoulders heavy with silent determination. But his eyes, hidden under the dripping brim of his hat, held a new light, a fragile hope that maybe this alien woman could lead him to his lost daughter. Behind them, the wind carried the echo of Lyra's earlier whisper, a ghost of despair replaced by something different now, something alive, something that, deep inside, refused to fall. The rain stopped by the time Ethan and Lyra reached the lower platforms of Colony Theta. The city never truly slept. Neon signs flickered over narrow metal streets, and the air smelled of rust and burning fuel. Hover carts drifted past, and the shadows of different alien races moved between alleys. Lyra walked beside Ethan, silent, her thin hands tucked inside his large coat. Every few steps she glanced up at him, puzzled by his calmness. Humans rarely crossed into the alien sectors at night. Those who did usually never came back. "Why risk your life here?" she asked finally. "No human is safe beyond the central wall." Ethan kept walking. "Because my daughter's out here somewhere," he said quietly. "And I'll walk through every wall if I have to." Lyra looked down. "You remind me of my father," she whispered. He said the same once, but he stopped looking when I became useless. Ethan stopped mid-step and turned to her. "Useless? Who told you that?" "My own people," she said, eyes dark with pain. "When the healers found out I could not bear life, they sent me away. In my culture, a woman without children has no purpose. They call us shadows, things that exist but don't matter." Ethan's jaw tightened. "That's wrong," he said firmly. "You matter." Lyra gave a weak smile. "You say that because you are kind. But kindness fades. When I was young, humans feared us. When I grew older, my own kind feared me." He looked at her closely, trying to imagine a world that could cast out someone so gentle. "Then maybe it's time someone fears you for the right reason," he said. "For what you can do, not for what you can't." They moved deeper into the alien district. Metal arches rose above them, covered in glowing symbols. Strange creatures whispered from doorways, and the eyes of merchants followed them as they passed. "Stay close," Lyra murmured. "These people can smell fear." Ethan nodded, gripping the handle of the small plasma torch at his side. "I'm not afraid," he said, though his heart raced with every echoing footstep. At the end of the alley, they reached a crowded market lit by soft green lamps. Voices rose and fell in dozens of languages. Alien children chased each other between food stalls. Somewhere, a slow song played from an old radio. Ethan paused, scanning faces. His eyes stopped on a necklace hanging from a trader's display, a small silver pendant shaped like a star. His breath caught. "That's my daughter's," he whispered. He rushed to the stall. "Where did you get this?" The alien merchant blinked, his scales shimmering. "Found it by the old lab tunnels," he said. "Near the power grids. Dangerous place. People vanish there." Ethan's stomach turned cold. "When?" "2 nights ago," the merchant said. "Human child, maybe?" "Saw soldiers near there, too." Lyra stepped forward. "The tunnels under the power grids. That's where the old medical facilities are. They were abandoned after the wars." Ethan turned to her. "You know the way?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, but it's forbidden. The area is sealed, both by your people and mine. If we go there, we might not return." Ethan's eyes hardened. "Then that's where we're going." Lyra hesitated. She looked at his hands, strong, trembling slightly, and at the pendant he held. There was something about this human father that stirred something long dead inside her. "Ethan," she said softly, "if we find her, what will you do after?" "I'll take her home," he said. "And if anyone tries to hurt her again, I'll burn this whole colony down." There was a quiet fire in his voice that made Lyra shiver. It was not anger. It was love, fierce and desperate. As they left the market, Lyra felt something new. Purpose. For the first time in years, someone needed her. Her heart, once cold and hollow, began to beat with a faint rhythm of hope. They reached a metal gate guarded by 2 mechanical drones. Sparks flickered above. Lyra placed her hand against a scanner and the gate hissed open. Ethan watched as her skin glowed faintly blue, alien energy pulsing through her veins. He realized then that she was more than what she believed. As they stepped through the dark tunnel entrance, a deep hum echoed from below. The air turned colder. Lights flickered against the walls. Lyra looked back one last time at the city behind them. "Once we cross this line," she said, "we can't turn back." Ethan tightened his grip on the pendant and stepped forward. "Then let's not." The gate closed behind them with a heavy clang, sealing their path. In the silence that followed, only two heartbeats could be heard, one human, one alien, walking side by side into the dark. The tunnels beneath Colony Theta were colder than the night above. Metal pipes ran like veins along the walls, leaking slow drops of glowing blue liquid. Each drop hit the ground with a soft hiss, giving off a faint light that guided their path through the darkness. Ethan walked first, his hand gripping a small flashlight. Beside him moved Lyra, silent but alert. Her eyes glowed faintly, able to see what human eyes could not. Every few steps the tunnel trembled as if something deep below was alive. "This place," Ethan whispered. "It feels wrong." Lyra nodded. "It was once a hospital," she said softly. "A place for healing. But after the wars, your people turned it into something else, a lab." Ethan frowned. "A lab for what?" She hesitated before answering. "For us. For my kind." The words hung heavy in the cold air. They turned a corner and came to a large metal door marked with faded letters. Biogen Unit 04. Half of the letters were scratched away, but Ethan could still read the human language. His heart pounded. "Biogen," he said quietly. "My wife used to work for them before she died." Lyra's steps slowed. "Then you already know what they did." He shook his head. "She never told me everything. Said it was for peace and for understanding between species." Lyra looked down. "That's what they always say." She placed her hand on the control panel beside the door. Her skin shimmered and the old system flickered to life. Sparks burst from the rusted circuits and the door slid open with a grinding scream. Inside, the air smelled of chemicals and old blood. Rows of broken pods lined the walls, glass cracked and leaking. Inside some, shadows of small shapes floated. Failed experiments long forgotten, Ethan's light trembled in his hand. "What did they do here?" Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. "They tried to mix our blood with yours, to create new life. Stronger, smarter, perfect." He felt his stomach twist. "That's impossible." She turned to him, her eyes glowing in the dark. "I was part of it. Years ago. Before they cast me out," Ethan froze. "You?" "I volunteered," she said bitterly. "They told me they could fix me. They said they would cure my infertility. But they lied. They used me to test how far a body could go before it broke." She touched one of the pods. The glass was cold, and her reflection looked like a ghost staring back. "I survived. But I couldn't bear life anymore. My body changed. My soul didn't." Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. He wanted to speak, to comfort her, but no words felt enough. Then suddenly a faint sound echoed through the corridor. A cry. Small, weak human, Ethan turned sharply. "Did you hear that?" Lyra nodded, already moving toward the sound. They followed the echo through narrow halls until they reached a reinforced chamber. The light from Ethan's flashlight caught on something metallic. Another cage. Inside, a young girl sat curled up, her face pale and covered in grime. Her wrists were bound with soft cables glowing blue. "Sarah," Ethan's voice broke. He rushed forward, slamming his hands against the lock. "That's my daughter." The girl stirred, opening her eyes. "Dad?" Her voice was weak but real. Ethan's chest shook with relief and anger all at once. "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm here." Lyra moved closer, studying the lock. "It's a containment field," she said. "Human code, but alien tech." She placed her palm against the panel again. The blue glow around her fingers pulsed faster. "I can break it, but it will draw attention." Ethan nodded firmly. "Do it." Sparks flew as Lyra pushed energy into the lock. The metal hummed, then burst with a sharp crack. The field collapsed. Ethan pulled the cage open and wrapped his arms around his daughter. Sarah trembled. "They said they were helping me," she whispered. "They said Mom wanted this, that she worked here too." Ethan froze. His heart stopped for a moment. "What?" Lyra's eyes widened. "Your wife?" Sarah nodded weakly. "They showed me a video. Said she started the project before she died." Ethan felt his world tilt. His wife, the woman he had trusted, had helped build this nightmare. Before he could speak, alarms blared. Red lights flooded the room. Lyra grabbed his arm. "They're coming." Ethan lifted Sarah into his arms. Then we're leaving us now. They ran down the hall, the sirens echoing behind them. Drones awakened from the shadows, their red eyes blinking to life. As they sprinted through the dark, Lyra glanced back at the lab one last time. Behind the broken glass and dying lights, she saw other cages, hundreds of them, each with faint shapes moving inside. She whispered under her breath, "What have they done to us?" And with that, the human and the alien ran together, a father, his daughter, and a woman once called broken, carrying the truth that could tear two worlds apart. The alarm lights painted the tunnel red. The air was thick with the sound of sirens and the heavy breathing of three souls running through the darkness: Ethan, Lyra, and the fragile girl in his arms. Ethan's heart pounded like thunder. His daughter's weight felt light, but every step made his chest ache. He had found her, but now they had to survive. Behind them, metallic footsteps echoed. The security drones were closing in. Their red eyes flickered like distant fireflies, growing brighter each second. "Left," Lyra shouted, pointing to a narrow passage. They slipped inside just as laser bolts sliced through the air, burning holes into the wall. Sparks flew around them. Ethan ducked, shielding his daughter. "How far do these tunnels go?" "Deep," Lyra said, catching her breath. "They connect to the old reactor base. If we reach it, we can shut the power to the lab." Ethan nodded. "Then lead the way." As they moved, Sarah stirred weakly in his arms. Her eyes opened and glowing faintly blue. Ethan froze. "Sarah?" The girl looked at him, her voice trembling. "Dad, I can hear them." "Hear who?" "The machines. They're talking inside my head." Lyra's face went pale. "They modified her," she whispered. "She's connected to the lab's network." Ethan's grip tightened. "You mean they did this to her?" "They used her mind?" Lyra nodded sadly. "She's part of the experiment now. They tried to merge human emotion with alien energy. They succeeded, and in her, Ethan's world shattered again. My little girl." They turned her into one of their tests. Lyra stepped closer. "She's still your daughter, Ethan, but we must act fast. Her body won't hold this fusion for long." Sarah coughed, her small hand reaching for her father's face. "Mom was here," she whispered. She said she had to finish her work. Ethan's breath caught. His wife's name, Claire, echoed in his mind. He had believed she died in a shuttle crash 5 years ago. Could she have been part of all this? They reached a circular chamber where blue light pulsed from a massive core in the center. It looked like a beating heart made of energy, alive and watching. Lyra stopped at the edge. "This is it," she said. "The central node. All the data, all control, it's here." Ethan looked around the room. Screens flickered to life, showing recordings. Alien women inside cages, humans in lab coats, scientists speaking into cameras. One screen caught his eye. A woman with brown hair, tired eyes, and a gentle smile. "Claire." "Ethan," her recorded voice said. "If you are seeing this, it means you found the truth." His knees weakened. He stared, speechless. Claire continued, "We started this to save both our races, to end the wars. But they twisted it. They wanted control, not peace. I tried to stop them. If they use the hybrid child, our daughter, they will open the next phase. You must destroy this place." The video ended. Ethan's vision blurred. He pressed his hand to the glass, whispering, "Claire, what did you do?" Lyra's voice was gentle. "She tried to save your child, and maybe me too. Without her, I wouldn't have survived the trials." Ethan turned to her. "You knew her?" "She helped me escape the first phase. She said she owed me a life. I never knew why, until now." The sound of drones grew louder. Lyra walked to the central node, placing her hand over the glowing core. "If I merge my energy with this, I can overload it. But it will burn me from the inside." Ethan stepped forward quickly. "No, there has to be another way." "There isn't," she said softly. "The system responds only to alien energy. You can't stop it, but I can." Ethan clenched his fists. "You saved me once. Let me save you now." She looked at him with a faint smile. "You already did. You reminded me why I still wanted to live." Lyra pressed her palm against the core. Blue light flooded her body, and veins of light crawled up her neck. Her eyes blazed white as the system began to scream. The alarms grew louder, then stopped all at once. Silence filled the room. The red lights faded into soft blue. Lyra fell to her knees, breathing hard. "It's done," she whispered. But they'll know we're here. Ethan caught her before she collapsed completely. Her skin was burning hot. Hold on, he said. We're not done yet. In the distance, heavy mechanical steps echoed again, but slower this time. Something bigger was coming. Ethan looked at his daughter, then at Lyra. We move now, he said. No one takes her again. He carried Sarah, Lyra leaning on his shoulder, as they disappeared into the next corridor, unaware that what waited ahead was far worse than the drones behind. The ground trembled beneath their feet as alarms howled once again through the old lab. Red warning lights flashed across the metal walls, painting their faces with fear. Ethan tightened his hold on Sarah while Lyra stumbled beside him, her skin still glowing faintly from the energy surge she had unleashed. They ran down a narrow passage. Steam hissed from broken pipes and sparks rained from the ceiling. Behind them came the sound of mechanical pursuit, drones and heavy boots marching in perfect rhythm. Ethan looked over his shoulder. They're close. Lyra's breathing was shallow. They're not guards, she said, her voice weak. They're prototypes. Half machine, half alien. The next phase. The words sent a chill through Ethan's bones. Then we move faster. He turned a corner and found himself staring at a wide metal door locked by a code panel. Can you open it? He asked. Lyra nodded, but her hands trembled. I'll try. She pressed her palm to the panel and light spread from her fingertips. Sparks danced along the metal. The lock hissed, then released with a heavy clang. They burst through into a vast chamber filled with machinery. Turbines, reactors, and vents spewing heat. It was the old power core. Lava-like light glowed beneath transparent floors, giving the entire room the look of a furnace. Sarah groaned softly. It's too hot. Ethan brushed a strand of hair from her face. Just hold on, sweetheart. We're almost out. From above, a deep voice echoed through hidden speakers. You shouldn't have come here, Ethan Cole. Ethan froze. He knew that voice. Director Harvin, he muttered, the man who had once overseen Biogen. The voice continued, calm and cold. You were always sentimental. Saving your daughter is touching but meaningless. She's property now. A living experiment. Ethan clenched his jaw. You'll never touch her again. Harvin laughed through the speakers. You don't understand. She's the key to humanity's next evolution. The union of two species. The future. Lyra stepped forward, anger glowing in her eyes. You call it the future. I call it slavery. She raised her hand and a small pulse of blue light shot from her palm, hitting a security drone dropping from the ceiling. The machine exploded in a burst of metal and fire. Ethan looked at her, shocked. How did you? The energy from the node, she said quietly. It's still inside me, but it's unstable. More drones descended, red eyes flashing. Ethan grabbed a metal pipe from the ground and swung hard, smashing one apart. Another fired, missing him by inches. Lyra lifted her hand again, sending another burst of light that tore through two more. The heat in the chamber grew unbearable. Steam and fire filled the air. Sarah coughed, her small voice barely a whisper. Dad, I can feel the machines dying. Ethan blinked. What do you mean? She looked up at him with glowing eyes. They're connected to me. When they break. I feel it. He knelt beside her. You're stronger than you think, Sarah. You can fight it. You're not their weapon. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm scared. Lyra knelt beside her. Courage isn't about not being scared, she said softly. It's about doing what you must, even when you are. The sound of marching grew louder. A steel door at the far end began to open. Through the thick smoke, a tall figure stepped out, half human, half machine, with glowing veins of light running through his armor. Director Harvin, Ethan's heart stopped. Harvin's eyes glowed the same color as Sarah's. She's perfect, he said. A success where others failed. Ethan stood between him and his daughter. You'll never take her, Harvin smiled. Then you'll burn with her. He raised his mechanical arm and fire burst from the vents. The bridge that spanned the room cracked under the heat. Lyra grabbed Ethan's hand. Run! They sprinted across as explosions erupted behind them. The metal floor gave way piece by piece. Ethan clutched Sarah tightly, every breath filled with smoke. At the final jump, the bridge shattered. Ethan leapt, landing hard on the other side. Lyra almost fell, but Ethan caught her wrist just in time. Flames roared below them. Go! She shouted. Take her and go. I'm not leaving you! Ethan pulled her up, both collapsing onto the platform. The door ahead led to the surface. Lyra turned to look back. The chamber behind them was collapsing. fire, machines, and the echoes of the dying lab. "It's over," she whispered. "But they'll come again," Ethan nodded. "Then we'll be ready." He pushed the door open, carrying Sarah through the smoke. Lyra followed, limping but alive. Behind them, the power core exploded, sending a wave of light into the sky. For a brief moment, the whole colony glowed, a false sunrise born from fire, and out of that fire, 3 broken souls escaped together, a father, a child, and an alien woman who finally found something worth living for. The storm had returned. Lightning tore through the red clouds above Colony Theta, casting flashes over the same bridge where Lyra once stood ready to end her life. Now she was back, but this time she wasn't alone. Ethan carried Sarah in his arms, her small body trembling with exhaustion. Lyra followed behind, her energy flickering like a dying flame. The explosions from the lab still echoed in the distance, painting the horizon with orange light. The city below burned, and the bridge groaned under the shaking of faraway blasts. Ethan stopped halfway across, catching his breath. The rain poured hard, washing blood and dust from his face. He looked down at his daughter, pale, silent, her faint blue glow fading. "She's slipping away," he whispered. "She's burning from the inside." Lyra pressed her trembling hand to Sarah's forehead. "Her system is collapsing. The fusion inside her is unstable. It's feeding on her energy." "Then fix it," Ethan pleaded. "Please, Lyra, do something." She shook her head, pain in her eyes. "If I use my power again, I might not survive." Ethan stared at her silent. The wind roared between them, carrying the scent of smoke and lightning. "You've already saved us once," he said. "Don't risk your life again." Lyra looked at Sarah, a child who was both human and alien, innocent and cursed. "She's the proof that both our kinds can live as one," Lyra said softly. "If she dies, they'll never believe peace is possible." Ethan's heart twisted. "Then take mine," he whispered. "Take whatever you need, my life, my strength. Just don't let her die." Lyra reached for him, her touch gentle. "You humans," she said with a sad smile, "always ready to die for love." Another explosion thundered in the distance. From the fog behind them, the whir of engines grew louder. A swarm of drones rose over the burning skyline, hundreds of red eyes glowing through the storm. "They're coming," Lyra said. They tracked the power surge. Ethan's grip on Sarah tightened. "We stand here then. No running." Rain poured harder. The lightning turned the bridge silver and the first drone fired a shot. The blast struck near Ethan's feet, shattering the metal floor. He ducked behind a beam covering Sarah. "We can't fight all of them." Lyra closed her eyes. "Maybe we don't have to." She stepped into the open. The wind whipped her hair across her face. She raised her hand slowly and her body began to glow again. Brighter than before, brighter than the lightning itself. "Lyra," Ethan shouted. "What are you doing?" She looked back at him, her eyes full of peace. "I was meant to end here once, but now I end it for the right reason." Energy built around her, a brilliant storm of blue and white. The drones fired again, but their shots curved away, melting in the air before they could reach her. Ethan could only watch, torn between awe and fear. "Don't you dare die on me." Lyra smiled faintly. "You once said everyone has something left. This is mine." The bridge shook as her power erupted outward. Waves of light exploded from her, washing across the sky. The drones fell like rain, one by one, crashing into the storm below. Ethan shielded Sarah as the shockwave passed. The sound was deafening, like thunder tearing the heavens apart. Then silence. When he looked up, Lyra was kneeling at the center of the bridge. Her glow faded slowly, and rain hissed on the steaming metal around her. Ethan rushed to her side, laying Sarah beside her. The child's breathing had steadied, the blue light in her veins calm again. "You did it," Ethan whispered. "You saved her." Lyra looked at Sarah with weak eyes. "She'll live," she said softly. "The fusion?" "Balanced." Ethan took her hand. "Hold on, we'll get you help." But she shook her head. "No, my energy is spent." "I gave her the last of me." He gripped her tighter. "Don't say that." Rain fell harder, running down his face like tears. Lyra's gaze drifted to the horizon, to the glowing remains of the city, to the storm that now began to fade. "Do you know what I see, Ethan?" She whispered. "For the first time, a sky that feels alive." Her eyes slowly closed. Ethan held her hand until it went cold. Sarah stirred beside him, whispering, Dad, where's Lyra? He looked up at the sky, his voice breaking. She became the storm, sweetheart. She saved us all. The wind quieted. The bridge stood still. The clouds parted just enough to let the twin moons shine down, two lights crossing in peace over the ruins of war. And as Ethan carried his daughter home through the rain, a faint blue glow flickered behind them, where Lyra's body had been. It shimmered once, then vanished into the mist. The days after the storm were quiet. The fires had died, and the black smoke that once choked Colony Theta slowly lifted, revealing a broken skyline bathed in silver light. The old bridge still stood, twisted and scarred, but standing, just like the man who now walked across it every dawn. Ethan Cole carried a small bunch of wildflowers in his hand. He stopped halfway where burn marks still traced the metal floor. That was where she had fallen, or perhaps where she had become something more. He knelt, placed the flowers on the cold steel and whispered, "You kept your promise. Lyra." The wind moved softly, carrying the scent of rain and ozone. For a brief moment he thought he heard her voice again, that calm, quiet tone that had saved him when he'd been ready to break. Behind him came light footsteps. "Dad?" He turned. Sarah stood there, her hair now streaked faintly with silver light. Her eyes, once blue from the experiments, had softened into a pale human gray. But when the sun touched them, they shimmered like hers. Like Lyra's, Ethan smiled faintly. "You should be resting." "I'm fine," Sarah said, walking to his side. "The doctors say the energy inside me is stable now. It doesn't hurt anymore." He nodded. "She gave you her strength." Sarah looked out over the horizon. The twin moons hung low, reflecting off the metal ruins. "Do you think she's still out there?" Ethan followed her gaze. "Lyra wasn't the kind you lose," he said softly. "She's part of this world now. Maybe part of you too." They stood together in silence. Below them, the city hummed with rebuilding sounds, humans and aliens working side by side for the first time in decades. The war had ended not with victory but with sacrifice. Lyra's energy wave had disabled the military networks and destroyed the hybrid weapons. It forced both sides to talk, and through that fragile peace hope grew again. After a moment, Sarah spoke. "They want me to speak to the council tomorrow." "About what happened?" "About her." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Tell them the truth. Tell them she wasn't a weapon. Tell them she was a person who believed we could be more than what they made us." Sarah nodded. "I will." A soft breeze passed between them, carrying the faint hum of energy through the air, like a whisper too gentle for words. Sarah tilted her head. "Did you hear that?" Ethan smiled. "Always." They turned to leave the bridge, walking toward the morning light. Far above them, hidden beyond the clouds, a faint blue pulse flickered across the upper atmosphere, unseen by most eyes. Within that glow, a presence stirred. Lyra floated in the void, wrapped in energy, her form no longer bound by flesh. The surge she unleashed had not destroyed her. It had transformed her. She was now something between light and thought. A bridge herself, between species, between life and memory. She could feel Ethan and Sarah below, their emotions like small stars in the dark. She smiled, or the feeling of a smile moved through her being. "This is what you meant, Claire," she whispered into the silence. "A world where both can live." The energy of the planet responded with a soft pulse, as if answering her. Below, in the new heart of Colony Theta, children, human and alien, played together in the rebuilt plazas. Their laughter echoed where once there had been sirens. The old labs were sealed forever, turned into gardens where wildflowers grew in cracks of metal. Sarah visited often. She studied alien energy, not as a weapon but as a healer. Her research became known as the Lyra Project, dedicated to uniting technology with compassion. People came from other colonies to see her speak. The girl once made in a lab, now the symbol of peace. And Ethan Cole, older and quieter, became the first bridge keeper, the guardian of the place where hope had been reborn. Each night he would light a small beacon at the edge of the bridge. Its glow was blue, the same hue that once danced in Lyra's eyes. Whenever storms gathered again over the colony, lightning would sometimes arc in strange patterns, forming shapes that looked almost like wings. The people would look up and say, "The Guardian watches." One evening, Sarah stood on that bridge, now grown into a young woman. She placed her hand on the rail and whispered, "Thank you, Lyra." The wind stirred. A faint shimmer of blue light wrapped around her fingers, warm and alive. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled softly, not in anger but in song. The legend of the human who saved the alien, and the alien who saved a world, lived on, told across colonies and systems. And whenever two species looked upon each other with fear, they remembered the woman who had once said, "Courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing what you must, even when you are." The bridge stood tall against the twilight, silent, shining, eternal, a bridge of metal, a bridge of light, a bridge of two worlds.